It's all in your feelings. It's all how I receive your sound. All in your feelings. Your emotions, they find me out. It's all in your feelings. It's all how I receive your sound. All in your feelings. Your emotions, they find me out. When I let it go, yeah. When I let it go, yeah. Then I let it go. Oh, oh, yeah. I let it all go now. I let it go. Hey, now I let it go. Whoa, 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 whoa. I let it go. Whoa, I let it all go now. Oh, oh, let it all go Don't cry no more, my dear. Don't you cry no more. I'll be waiting here, my dear. I'll be at your door. Do you hear me knocking? Do you hear my drum to draw you from your fortress that's been overcome? 'Cause you've been hiding in the shadows of the rubble and debris, and you're still living through a battle. It's been done for many weeks, but listen for the sounds of restoration coming from the streets. Let it remind you you're still alive. Yeah, there's still life up in them bones. Don't dwell on the casualties.
2, 1. What is up, everybody? We are live, going live on a Tuesday for old time's sake. Appreciate everybody who's stopped in, who's joining us. This is a special mask off Tuesday for everybody in New Jersey and the Young Lion family. But we're going to talk about We're going to get into something Jake sent today. We're going to talk about some stuff we saw online, a lot of the new topics that are happening this week. Right. You're watching Young Lion TV.
Everywhere I look, there's a young lion, young lion. Everywhere I look, they're dying. Everywhere I look, there's a young lion, young lion. Won't you get up and stop fighting? Everywhere I look, they're hiding, young lion.
Yeah.
It's a good shot of you there, brother. All right. I'm in there.
Yeah. You know what I mean? Got to get the whole crew in there. You know what I'm saying?
We're going to ignore the mess up.
We're going to ignore whatever you did. I don't
I wasn't supposed to be in there.
Yeah, I don't know. Something's going on with that. Maybe it's the settings on the clip there. We got to go check that out. But yeah, shout out to everybody who's watching. I want to give a big peace and blessings to all the young lions in the chat right now. People saying what's up. Ariana says hi to everybody.
What's up?
Everybody, please share this video. Please share it, Ariana. Please share it if you're in the chat right now. Please hit that share button and just let people know that we're live right now on a Tuesday.
So are we moving to Tuesdays?
Yeah, we're probably going to be back at Tuesdays, in the future. So just be on the lookout for that. Yeah. Shout out to Moan next to me here.
What up?
Brother Simone. And then James sitting in.
What's up?
We're always trying to adjust your shot and try to we're always like, how can we make his shot better?
It's getting better.
It's getting there. It's
got
a little better.
Piece of stand there.
Yeah,
I'll take it.
And as you can see, Stan rocking the Jatan 2020 shirt.
Yeah.
And Jake rocking the Barcelona shirt.
Yeah, we lost everything.
He lost it all. Champions League was won by Chelsea. How did that happen? And then holding it down on production, we of course got John and Rachel over there.
Mm-hmm. Hey now.
Yo.
I'm just waiting for y'all to say something. We're hoping.
Going on?
We're
Blow in the building.
Yeah, there we go. Hopefully, we can get them to chime in a little more this week.
They want to chime in after.
As soon as the podcast's over, they got all this stuff to say. Now, see, when I saw that other video, I was like, nah. But during the podcast, it's like crickets. We over here struggling. Like, so what do you think?
More commentary.
Yeah, there you go. But
Just wanted to say shout out to Carmen Martinez, Emma.
What's up, Emma? Emma is one of our Patreon members. Shout out to everybody that is signed up on the Patreon. And don't forget, if you want to sign up on Patreon, Ariana, you can go to patreon.com/youngliontv. You see it right there at the bottom of the screen, and you can sign up to become a member, become a young lion, become a part of the pride. Sign up, and we got a lot of exclusive content that we're getting ready. We're adding there now. We're going to be putting exclusive music, exclusive video content, commentary, all kinds of stuff is going up on the Patreon. So shout out to everybody who's been signing up. We've been getting a lot of people joining on the Patreon, so we appreciate that. There's different tiers for how much you're ready to buy in, but all of that goes back to supporting what we're doing. As you can see, like, we're constantly trying to upgrade the situation here, kind of give you guys better quality content. We're going to keep doing that, and the more we can bring in, the more we can keep bringing more content and have more freedom to just do this all the time. So we appreciate you guys for signing up, but also
support others who are doing stuff like this, because we do that too.
Exactly. Yeah, we definitely do that. Because that's big. We're trying to build a whole community of people that are talking about having the conversations that we're trying to have on this platform. Right. Because there's a lot of platforms out there. We talk about it all the time, especially with men, especially in this modern day and age. You see it with like the whole manosphere thing, and like they're building these extreme followings really quick, just built off of trashing women or tearing down young women, and we're not trying to do that. You know what I mean? If we wanted one of those channels where we're just being outrageous, like, we could probably build a following way faster,
and
but
not be married.
Right. But it's not about that though.
No.
It's about us trying to show something different, bring a different culture to this world.
And we're witnessing something unique, which is there's a new era dawning, which is the new media. Yeah, media it's changing. It's no longer the news format, which is nightly news, the syndicated talk shows. We're witnessing something unique, which is basically that's coming to an end.
It's dying.
Yeah.
It's dying.
And
The
even the disc jockey
actually chasing. They're chasing.
Yeah, exactly. Even the disc
Joe
jockey
Rogans.
era is
Yeah.
is pretty much gone. I think people can tune in, and this is one of the things that YouTube and Spotify and other mediums like this is.
Even Twitch. Shout out to Twitch. We're live on Twitch right now. Anybody who's on Twitch, please subscribe. Send people over to the Twitch because Twitch is a platform that's growing tremendously.
I haven't even tuned. I don't know anything.
Dude, some of the live streams on Twitch are bigger than TV broadcasts.
Yeah.
Like they're.
I believe it. I mean, listen, it's the dawning of a new era.
Yeah.
The era is people can choose the content they want to listen to. I mean, of course, there's going to be whatever. It's going to be buffoonery or it's going to be serious. It depends on what you want. I even turned off the music to like things I want to learn about and go into that. I've been listening to the audiobook, The Book of Jasher.
Oh, you've been listening to that?
Yeah, I've been listening to it, man.
Deep, right?
Yeah, man. Yeah, it's a lot. It's a lot of info. It's a lot of things that you and I talked about the correlation between movies and biblical things. I was telling you about the one Prometheus.
Yep.
And how it's tied into biblical Sumerian. I was like, wow.
We need to do a whole Patreon episode about that specifically.
That is deep. But I think it's the new era of media. Yeah. Where people can choose the content they want.
Yeah. And you can support it directly. You can support it directly. You don't have to go through. Right. It ain't about like, I watch this so they can get ratings, so they can get advertising. No. Right. You can support them directly through avenues like Patreon. And now even you see Google, Twitch, even Twitter now has a subscriber thing that they're trying to push. Wow. You know what I mean? So it's like everybody's trying to jump on that direct to consumer thing.
And that's what it's about, because then you're not controlled. Because a lot of these, when you look at movies, when you look at Hollywood, when you look at the media outlets, a lot of these people, they're backed. And you got to ask, where's their backing?
Right. They have a corporate interest.
Yep.
They have donors. They have advertisers.
They have agendas.
We don't stand for that.
Yeah, exactly.
Never speaking mine.
But even with these platforms, there is still a semblance of control. So
that'll come.
The ultimate is to have your own server on your own website where you can just direct to consumer, and there is no other platform, because then you don't have to worry about terms of service and all these violations.
Like
and
what happened to Parler.
With Parler, bunch of people, they just stopped hosting Parler. Parler
Amazon.
was its own thing.
Yeah.
And
but that's what I think will change. Because what I don't think a lot of people realize, actually the creators have the most power.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But people don't realize that. So you got to continue in that to just create content, And as you do that, they're going to start to see it. But all the corporations do is just try to back whatever. They're just trying to make money.
Right.
And they're going to attempt, listen, they're trying to figure out how they can get in. Advertisers can get in. Eventually, once the money is good enough, they'll start trying to control what you can say, what you can't say. We see that a lot with Joe Rogan.
Yeah,
his trajectory of how it used to be has definitely changed.
I think that's the thing, is that these corporate interests know that everyone has a buyout point.
Sure.
And when someone
not everyone.
Not everyone, but most people, 99.999% of people, right? So even someone as big as Joe Rogan, who built that platform from the ground up, used to be on Justin TV and Ustream with 10 people watching. Yeah. You know what I mean? Yeah. And then built that up to what it is now. But even with that big check of plus 100 million, whatever he got, they were able to control him even a little bit. You know what I mean?
They have to.
Before that, he really didn't have. And then you saw it on YouTube at first, which is why he probably did that deal with Spotify. Because remember, he used to be completely live. Then he had to stop going live because he was at risk of being banned from YouTube. Right. So he couldn't do live streams anymore. Right. And I remember when people were pissed when he stopped going live. Because it was like, they're controlling him. You know what I mean? Right. And I think people didn't realize, or he doesn't realize what he meant to people that were pushing back against these corporate interests. Like Joe Rogan was like the tip of the spear for a lot of those people. Yeah. Because he was saying whatever he wanted. He would bring on whoever he wanted. It had nothing to do with agenda. These long form conversations where you could talk to someone for 3 hours straight. Sometimes he had an Alex Jones episode that was 6 hours long. Right. You know what I mean?
And the thing about that and other platforms, mainly him, it didn't have that fake panel. I'm disgusted with you. You know, like that cue camera to theatrics. You know what I mean?
Like a time format.
That format of
someone's via satellite. They got the suit up top and drawers underneath.
You're not gonna solve. And how ridiculous it is that you're gonna try and attempt to solve critical things like this in 30 minutes.
You're
gonna try and lay that
Less
plan
than
out.
that, sometimes like 10 minutes.
Right. It's like you're not gonna, it's 30 minutes, but it's like 15 minutes worth of commercials.
Gotta keep that time slot.
You know,
look at someone like Brett Weinstein, who, for those who don't know, he's like a professor that they tried to cancel multiple times, but he was on Rogan talking about this Wuhan lab situation. And he went into depth about like how this is real and people need to look into this. This is one of the smartest dudes, around. And he was talking about why this was real and why this was important and why we need to look into it. But they went crazy, tried to censor him, tried to get him banned, tried to get him deplatformed. Now he's on his podcast talking about like what happens now. Like why is there no consequences for these people that try to control the narrative? You know what I mean?
And this is why we need to take, we can't sit by and just allow things to happen anymore. I think that's what we've been lulled into a sleep or slumber over the years, especially like our generation to just like sit back and, that's just the way it is, things aren't going to change. Or we say stuff like, the corporations,
it's too. It seemed too big.
It
seemed too big.
We were talking about that yesterday. Like, that's just how they are. How many times do we say that? Just accepting
and complaining. All we're doing is complaining about it.
But we never take, even in our own lives, we don't take the actions to fight against it, even in small ways. Like I know y'all, stop buying Coke. Little things like that. We don't even make those compromises. A lot of times where it's like, these people are doing all this corrupt stuff, but you still purchase their stuff. You still watch these shows that promote the wrong ideas to the public. You still support the music that is, degenerating our culture. You know what I mean?
Well, that's the hardest thing to do though, because in order to answer those questions, you have to look inward.
Right.
And a lot of people don't. I mean, they want a little bit, but they won't change that much. Really, the most change that you're going to get is probably the change within you,
right,
and not the world. I think we want the world to change more than we want to,
right?
I mean, we have more demand for that.
Isn't that
that's a good point? That's a good point.
Isn't that the naivete? Like when kids are young, and then it's like the cliche thing. I want to change the world. And they go ahead. Honey, you're going to change the world.
How dare you?
Right.
Where's the button?
Right. How dare you?
Where is the button?
But that's been like a...
Where is she at?
Projected on kids. But then you grow up and you start realizing it's not that easy. And you get hit with a lot of confrontation. How do you deal with that?
And it's daunting. I think, like you said, like if you can slow things down and you say, okay, maybe it's me. Maybe there's certain things about me. Maybe certain things that I'm drawn to that I could change. I think that's a more realistic goal than, like you said, change the world. Like even the teachers, I remember, we can all change. Like, no, it starts with you. Really, it's
I'm talking to the man. That song is really deep. Like when you listen to it,
we talk about it all the time. Start with you and your own home, your own house.
And how you do that if you don't know how.
Right. Everything projects outwardly from you and your own situation. If you don't start here, there is no projection. You're looking at everyone else to do it. So it's once you start doing it, you'll notice it in your own household. You'll notice it in your circles. Like, look, we talked about this last week. The people that we're surrounded with. There's a reason why we all are this way we are, because we all have made that decision separately to look inwardly. All of us, outside of each other, outside of like, not because you told me to, you know what I'm saying? Because it was something that I wanted to do. But that creates another bond, and then it projects outwardly to our families. You know what I mean?
Right. You know what I'm saying? You're talking about that. I do think the one good thing that's happened with the manosphere thing, even though I don't agree with a lot of what they're saying, but I do like that men are talking more now. Because there was a time when speaking and having intellectual conversations, or even talking about family, wives, marriage, and stuff, seemed you wouldn't do it because you didn't want to be ridiculed by the others.
Right.
Right. And how foolish is it that you would listen to a fool and try to honor the fool instead of trying to reason out for yourself? Like, just pay attention to their life.
Yeah.
And all you have to do is, you don't have to go deep into like some philosophical thing. Just look at their life. Look at the information you're getting and look at the source of it.
Right.
You know, and consider that. And then you could say, okay, man, I'll listen to you.
That's the problem. Like, how you going to judge that? Because when you don't know how to judge. Because a lot of people, they don't know.
No, they don't.
They don't know how to judge. So they like, you know how the Bible says, a good tree bears good fruit, right?
Right.
And so people are like, oh, okay, I just got to look for the fruit. But that fruit is discerned spiritually.
Right. Yeah.
You know, so that's what I'm saying. So like, not to say that we can't, because what he's saying, like, yeah, you can see, okay, that makes sense. Like, not to say that you can't find wisdom in things, because you can find wisdom in everything. But it's just like, after a while, it gets complicated.
Yeah,
you know?
You can't stop there.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, like for instance, like, right, okay, if someone is giving you advice on marriage and they haven't had a successful one,
yeah,
maybe you don't need to take advice. Start there.
Let's start there.
And, you know what I mean? It's like,
Yeah.
you know, I always make this joke. I remember one time Steve Harvey made this comment. You guys know Steve Harvey, obviously, the public out there.
Yeah.
The guy who wrote the
He's
book.
the original Derek Jackson.
Right.
Not because you asked.
Well, one of the things he said was about pertaining to his book. He said, listen, I know what I'm talking about. I've been married 3 times. And the audience clapped, and I was like, that's the dumbest thing I've ever heard.
Right.
You failed 3 times. You know what I
Right.
mean? Like, why are we applauding that? You wouldn't get on a plane and said, ladies and gentlemen, just so you know, I've crashed 3 times. But
That makes me a better pilot.
you would get off that plane.
Yeah.
But we've turned into these people who we clap that, we applaud that. We're like, I won't listen to you. I'll listen to the guy who did it
Just because
60
he's famous.
But you could, I mean, just play it. You could get something from that because he might have learned from his mistakes.
could, but here's the
You know what I
thing.
mean?
But
No, absolutely.
what you could get from him is where he made mistakes.
Right.
Right.
That's what, like, you can't get from him what makes a marriage successful.
And he's glorifying it,
You know what
though.
I'm saying?
He's
But you
he's
can-
putting it in context.
Yeah,
Right.
he's wearing it with pride.
Yes.
Now, again, this is Steve Harvey, so I get it. But on the other end, like, actually, like, that's the vulnerability side. Like, it is good, like, to be vulnerable in your mistakes because sharing that, you grow.
Of course. Of
So
course.
there's
But
that
people
side.
don't see, the thing is I know I agree with that. It is good to show vulnerability, both men and women. But unfortunately, the people are applauding the foolishness.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? That's what it is. You got to stop and be like, no. That's not meant for applause.
Right.
I want to clarify something.
Right.
If he had learned something, if
I
he
messed up a lot.
If he had quantified it,
right.
it
But that's not what he's doing.
No. That's and that's the
He's-
point he's making is that, like, he's coming at it from the, like you were saying, he's wearing it as a badge of honor.
Right.
Like, this qualifies me.
Right.
Which no,
it doesn't.
that's not what qualifies you.
Yes.
You know.
And we're not saying that you can't make mistakes or that things can't go wrong and you learn from those things, but you can't give honor to the failure. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Unless you've learned from it and you could show where through the failure
Honor comes the honor comes from you learning. The honor comes once it's not something you can put out there. It's something that people see, and then you can point back to, well, this is what I learned from my mistakes,
Right.
and I can show you how not to make those mistakes.
Right. I think if we did something more along the lines of, and then slowly the people who are hearing this, the vessels can say, you know what? Okay, I accept that message. Maybe let me look a little bit at myself. You know what I mean?
Right.
You know.
Yeah, I think that's what it is. Like, people don't clarify those things.
Yeah,
Right.
because he's like, a lot of people, they want to look like, I'm successful, you should listen to me.
Yeah.
Right.
But that doesn't quantify. Like, that doesn't, just because you're successful, that doesn't mean wisdom. Right.
And I think that's the mistake a lot of us make, is that they say, well, he's successful in business, so that means he knows everything.
And that's the flaw in us.
Yeah.
That's the
Right.
flaw in us, though,
Right.
because we're looking at that. We're looking at his success, and we're like, well, the success, the monetary success means success
Right.
in its entirety, but it's not. You know what I mean?
It's like the Dave Chappelle joke when what was it? Was it Katrina? Yeah. Or was it 9/11 or Katrina when he was like we worship celebrities too much. Yeah. You know, like when something like that happens and they say let's go to Ja Rule for his thing.
It was 9/11.
It was 9/11. Yeah. He's like there's some questions I got that Ja Rule can't answer. You know what I mean? Right. Like that we do that. We're taught in this society to give so much credence to these people just because they've attained a certain level of success or celebrity or fame, you know. So that means
quantifies you.
Yeah,
you should speak to the public.
It's all about money. It's all about ratings. People are gonna watch that. They're
but it's being torn down though.
Yeah,
I think it's I think.
That's one of the benefits of the modern social media age is that, I mean, it's a gift. It's always, a double-edged sword because there's so many people that are just ready to tear everyone down. But at the same time, there is a sense of like tearing down this concept of celebrities are worshipable. Worshipable, you know what I mean?
I mean, but now we're at the end of that pendulum, which is like cancel time. Yeah, cancel.
Right. Everyone, let's find a way to cancel them all.
And I think it'll kind of eventually even out. But right now we're in that cancel place of like to find out everything.
Yeah. And again, going back to the manosphere thing, I think that this is a result of the pendulum swinging so far into feminism that now it's going. Now men are like, let me ride this back the other way. We going to take this. Not only that,
but we've seen the very people criticize being caught in the thing they're criticizing,
right?
And the people who are going ham after everybody have nothing to say,
right?
Yeah. People get people get hit in the crossfires, so then they start getting offended. So now they're going to attack. You know, that's just the way of the world. Like to me, I'm seeing it as like you get hit and like hold up, and a lot of times like people, that's how people feel.
Or you got some skeletons yourself,
right? That you want to hide.
Yeah, and you hitting them, but they want to cover it up.
Yeah,
so they're
of course. We've seen that,
Yep. All right, so let's go over some things that where are you going?
I did not move. You did not frame it right.
I framed y'all right.
No, you did it.
He had to fix it though. Like, you could have left it alone.
It's all good. It's
all time.
No, you need to know. Is it on?
Check the timer.
I just missed.
All right. Well, while they're doing that, Jamie.
All right. Well,
what do you got?
So,
all right.
First, I want to say, like James was talking about how we want to talk about how like movies and stuff correlate to the things that you're learning in the Bible. The title of this episode is Judas and the Black Messiah, which is a movie that just came out recently.
Okay.
Jake saw something that kind of like goes into that a little bit about how this is like correlated with capitalism versus communism in a way, where like Jesus.
Well, that's what they brought up.
Right. So we're going to go into that a little bit later. Okay. But in the meantime, I want to go over some headlines that we can discuss. So, John, if you're ready, you can bring this one up. I just want to show everybody what's on the horizon here. Just saw this today. There's a lot of headlines going around about this. China confirms first human case of the bird flu strain. So China is coming for us again. China is coming for us again, bro. Like,
this last name is Chinese.
A 41-year-old man was diagnosed with the virus, and I don't know. What do y'all think? How much do we believe about this?
What do we think? What's the source?
There's a bunch of articles from. It's everywhere. So this is not no.
I think it's called H something 3.
Yeah. We can read the article a little bit if you want. Authorities in China have reported that the first known human case of the H1N3 strain of the bird flu, but says the risk of the virus spreading on a large scale among humans is low. Isn't this the same thing they said this time last year?
Yeah.
The same exact thing.
It's not spreading from human to human.
Yeah, it doesn't spread. This is what the WHO said, right? Yeah. It doesn't spread from human to human. Month later, global pandemic shut down our whole economy. Yeah. We still are in, we're about to do another $6 trillion, funding package that we don't know where. I saw a thing from Bloomberg. This economist was talking about that by the end of the year, the US dollar might be like half its value.
Yeah, of course. That's
when you just printing.
That's always what was going to happen.
Right. So
super hyper.
Nobody want to work.
Just be aware of that, guys.
I think we're in an amazing time. and I'm gonna tell you why.
Okay, give it to me. I like it.
Because James 1 says, "Count it all joy when you go through various trials, because it produces because it activates your faith, basically,
right?
And it produces patience, and that patience or endurance causes you to be perfected, that you're lacking nothing. So, and that lacking of nothing is actually wisdom, you know, because it says if you lack, ask for wisdom.
Right.
So I think it's helping people to stop being double-minded, which is at the end of that. Meaning to trust in God, to know that, like, beyond anything, our refuge is actually in Jesus. And not just say it, but learn that. I think that's what we're learning, is that, all right, I got to trust him. I got to trust him. Like, it grows us in our faith. You know, every issue that comes upon us, I think we've been programmed to be like, what am I doing wrong? When really it's about me trusting in him. You know, not thinking about how I need to fix it, because there's nothing we
can do.
Yeah.
Like, if the dollar crashes, what do we do?
Yeah.
If we go into another Great Depression, what can we do?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, can't stop it.
Yeah.
And like, I feel what you're saying, because I like get those thoughts sometimes, but then I'm always like, I'll be good. You know what I mean? No matter what happens, we all gonna be good. You know what I mean? Because it's more than just this system that they've propped up that we've all bought into. You know what I mean? Life is more than just that. And if everything crashed tomorrow and we couldn't buy anything, like, yeah, it would be tough. But, like, could we survive? I was thinking about that. Like, could we survive?
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
The song "Who Am I" at the end. Go. You may take me as a fool because I view life different than you. Yeah, that's a perspective. That's a model. That's a structure. Right. That's a worldview. And a worldview means a system. The way you view it systematically. So you may take me as a fool because I view life different than you. But hold your tongue. Don't let it run off with illusions in your past. What's the next line?
Yeah, they try to hold me back, but they can't take it. They won't. No, they can't see it. They won't see it. Telling me to turn around because I can't take these giants down. But who am I?
And that's the key. Like, the giants, we like when Israel went into the land and they're like, we can't enter into this land. We can't take our inheritance that God said we can take because there's giants in the land.
Right.
And I think he's teaching it. Like, that is a bad report. We talked about this before. You know, that's a bad report because it doesn't line up with what God is saying.
Yeah.
That's fear.
Right.
And I think he's teaching us that, like, how to know that I don't know how they're going to be taken down, but I know they'll be taken down if I trust in him. You know, I know that we can take these giants down, these things that look like they're too big, these mountains.
Right. These things that they tell us are too big to fail.
Yeah, right.
Right. Yeah.
Another bailout.
You know what I'm saying? But yeah, like, but realistically though, like, for y'all, if we did get to a point where, like, your money's worthless now. You know, whatever you guys saved is pretty much worthless. You know, everything it's economic collapse. Where are y'all at? Like, spiritually, where are y'all at? Like, confidence wise? Honestly.
It's easy to say, you know, I'll be good, but
it'd be more about, like, making sure our wives and kids are good, right? Because I think men always go into this, like, we got this mode.
We gotta do it.
Yeah. I think it'll bring more of a community if that did happen.
There's a lot of things that would happen to change the way we do things. And it might not all be bad. You know what I mean?
Fam, you know, I mean, we have young kids.
Yeah.
So that'd probably be, you know, a worry.
Yeah.
You know, not necessarily fair because, like, so we have each other.
Yeah.
We have faith, but yeah, you know, you would definitely be concerned about that.
I mean, it's not like, when you look at other, you know, countries where all of this has happened recently, you see it. Like, you have to protect your family, you got to protect your home, because people will just come and try to, you know, loot whatever they can, you know. Not saying that it would ever get to that point, but I'm saying if it did, you know what I mean?
I think it could.
Yeah. It could. You know,
if they keep printing money.
Yeah.
If it gets devalued to the point where, I mean, anything is possible, you know, where you don't know how people are going to respond. I think we're all assuming that. Yeah. I mean, I remember when Sandy happened.
Everybody like is in this place I've been hearing a lot where it's like that would never happen. Like that could never happen. Like when you talk about places where like things have failed and there's been natural disasters or the government has collapsed, people are like, but that would never happen here. I've had like multiple people say that throughout the course of the past 2 years. And I'm like, I think that confidence is a really dangerous thinking space.
Yeah. The people are trying to be optimistic too.
I mean, I'm pretty sure there's plenty of people that thought what we went through in the last year would never happen as well. You know, it's that quick that things can
including
change
me. I was like, hey, I don't think it's anything.
Yeah, like you never would think that they would shut down the entire country.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like,
I think for me, the Hurricane Sandy thing, being in Howell at that time, and like 2 days before, casually walking through the grocery store, and then the next day,
panic.
It's insane. Like people are fighting, and women are hitting each other with bottles, and men are like trying to take things.
They get like that with them scaring with them storms.
Yeah. So I can only imagine.
Water's gone, bread's gone, people fighting for water.
So that's the purpose of the church, though. I think the church is that. I'm not talking about the church as a place. I'm talking about the church as a people. I think the church is supposed to be an outlet of peace for people to bring them comfort, true comfort and peace. And like even like what we're talking about, like if we're seeing these things and we see that something might be a possibility, that's where we go and we pray, we seek the Lord. We don't just sit there and say, oh no, it's going to be good, because then that's not faith either. Right. You know, our trust is in him, our refuge is in him. Right. So our action has to be towards him. Like, this is what I'm dealing with, God. You know, these is where, and that's what I mean, like our emotions.
But I think even that is like, okay, but our heart needs to be like, whatever your will is to happen, you know, just make sure I'm good in that, because it could be a purpose for a collapse. You know what I'm saying? Like,
that's what I'm trying to say.
Yeah.
I'm saying that we get strategies from that, how to deal with the things, because things shake for a reason.
Right. Because I'm just saying, like, you know, the church has a tendency to be like, we're going to pray to stop this thing.
No,
you know what I mean?
No,
we're going to pray to stop all of this from happening the way we don't want it to happen. You know what I'm saying?
Magic. We pray to seek his strategy on how to deal with situations, because now we're starting to get, why are we being shaken? Because the things that are happening are not the things, or the ideas that we've held on to, they're not really ideas that we should be holding on to. They're not, we were talking about this at church, like these branches that have grown and, you know, they need to be cut off. Right? You can't keep this around, but sometimes you don't realize it. You don't recognize it. So you got to be shaken so that you're not producing fruit. Nothing's coming out of that branch. Right. You know, it's got to come off. These are the ideas. This is what the Bible talks about. The branches are the ideas of man, and it has to do with a scepter. A scepter is a scepter for rule. So it's literally about how you rule your house, right? We're talking about men being able to keep the family, rule over their family, right? It's how you rule your house with these ideas. And if ideas ain't working, then you need to reevaluate. Who do you go to him to reevaluate? So that's what I mean when you pray. You're surrendering your way of life. Those are those branches or those ideas that they're not working. Right. You know, what's going on here?
Right. That's the distinction that I wanted to make, because it could be like, oh, we pray so we can stop the our comfort from being disrupted. You know what I mean? It's like, no, it's not about that. Yeah. It's about seeking wisdom in that disruption, seeking wisdom in whatever comes. Right. You know what I mean? Because you can, like, some of the times that testing is needed. You know what I mean? You know, because it's about expose. Like we were talking about how we thought 2020 vision is going just everything's going to clear up for us, but it's like what it did was it exposed a lot of the cracks in the system that we never saw before, and then we saw clearer, but we didn't like what we saw. Exactly. You know what I mean? And it was like 2020. And I think about before, like, you know, where does it say in the Bible where God was like, if I showed you everything, you know, you wouldn't be able to handle it.
Well, I think you're talking about if I gave you the ground all at once.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
If the wild beast would overtake you.
Right. Yeah. Which is kind of like that same thing. It's like where if I give you all the knowledge at once, you're vulnerable at that point. You know what I mean? You don't even know how to steward over that much yet. I got to show you a little bit at a time because then the wild beast can come and just overtake you. Right. And then what good is that land anyway?
It's funny because it's like I was looking at so stupid, but faithful. Like to be faith, you got to be you're becoming more full. Right. You know what I mean? Right. So faith is like the process of being faithful, a steward over things. You're learning how to trust. That's what it's about. Like we're learning how to trust. Like that's why like the whole Christian stance on like being saved. Once saved, always saved is like so stupid because you got to be faithful. It's all about just faith because faith equals righteousness, right? Abraham was accounted as righteous because of his faith. That's it. There's no other thing. He didn't do some amazing thing. He just trusted in God that he was going to do what he said. And I think that's the key with us. Like, why are we so worried? It's because we're not trusting him. And it can't be like, oh, well, I need to not be worried. No, you need to recognize why you're worried and seek him so that he can settle you. You know what I mean? That's different than like, okay, let me stop being worried so I can feel now you're doing something. Right. No, it's nothing you can do. He's the one who does it, you know?
Yeah. So let me just move on to this. So I saw this on Twitter as well. Just want to bring this up and get everybody's reaction and thoughts on it. We've been talking about this a lot, on previous podcasts and just how they're slowly trying to slow walk people into this idea, right? And this is an article from CFAM, the Center for Family and Human Rights, and it says, the UNICEF reports say pornography not always harmful to children. Right?
Shut off the lights. Let's go home. We're done.
Now this ties into
by Alexis Fragosa. Isn't that a?
Sounds like a Portuguese.
Isn't that
Portuguesa?
Isn't that the same?
Portuguesa.
Oh, they're Fragoso.
That's just the female
version.
That's
the female version. That's the feminine version.
Gendered language. We need to cancel all of Latin speaking because it's gendered language. But so we've been talking about this. They're slow walking into this idea. Right. And Stan sent us a video earlier. So I saw this tweet before you sent the video, and I'm like, yo, this ties perfectly in with that because they're introducing these ideas. We've showed the articles before. We showed the bills that they're introducing, especially like in the super progressive states, about how they're introducing these ideas of sexuality, masturbation, all these things to young kids. Hopefully this doesn't get us banned, but I'm just going to play this because, it's that ridiculous.
I'm playing it for first graders, so.
Yeah, this is for first graders right here. This is a child learning like Sesame Street style. Where's the volume?
No, hold on.
Okay. All right, here we go.
Pass it, Squeaks. Whoa! Watch it! You almost hit me in the pee-pee! What's so funny, you two?
He said pee-pee.
Do you notice that when you say pee-pee, you giggle, but when you say penis, you say it in a serious voice?
I never noticed that before.
Some children and adults feel uncomfortable when they talk about their private parts, so they make up cute or funny names for them.
What's one for a girl's private parts?
Vajayjay! But what does Scoops mean when he says vajayjay?
He means vulva.
They even got the little catchy name, Scoops. Scoops, this is just cute and cuddly and catchy. We're just learning, teaching the children, teaching and teaching. Here we go.
Right, Kayla. It's important to use the proper words for our private parts.
I just want to point out the multicultural diversity they got going on here. You gotta check all the boxes.
Where the Asian though?
I think the little boy's Asian, bro. He looked like a little anime. He looked like a little anime.
His eyes is too round, yo.
Have you watched anime? Round ass, fake ass Asian eyes. They don't have no real. All right, keep going.
Why? Because our private parts are just as amazing as our hearts, lungs, brains, or any other of our amazing body parts.
But our hearts pump blood, our lungs breathe, and our brains think.
All our private parts do is pee. That's not entirely true, Scoops. It is true that a person pees or urinates through a hole called the urethra in the penis.
Does everyone have a urethra?
They do. It can be harder to see, but girls have a tiny hole in the front of the vulva where urine comes out from their urethra. Urination is actually very important. It helps us get rid of waste.
Now, I just want to stop this real quick because I want to set up something. Now, right now, it just seems like this is educational about information about private parts. It's a way to introduce children to their anatomy. We get it. Like, people don't like telling them what their anatomy is. We can introduce to them in a safe way where they learn the terms and all of this and what it does. It's going to go left. So let's just keep watching.
I could tell.
It's going to go
where
left.
they're trying to set this up.
Yeah.
There's also something else that comes up.
Right.
I don't like the way the animation
It's coming
is.
up, right?
Hold on. You guys notice 666?
Oh! See, that's conspiracy brother right there. I'm telling you, I didn't even peep that, James. And then look, why is there lightning coming out of his balls?
Why is there a pizza?
Why is there a pizza?
I thought that was cheese.
Pizza
Yo,
cake.
and the 6 looks like the symbol.
Oh yeah,
the symbol.
The swirly.
Yeah, the swirly symbol.
Technically, there's 4 6s.
Oh yeah, there's one on the boy right there.
Oh, okay.
But it's all right, James. You caught that. You caught that, yo. Why is she just crap out a piece of pizza and he got lightning coming out of his balls? That's not cool, man. All right, but this is about to go real left. I'm telling you.
Stuff our body doesn't need.
Hey, how come my penis gets big sometimes and points up in the air?
That's called an erection.
Sometimes I touch my penis because it feels good. Sometimes when I'm in my bath or when Mom puts me to bed, I like to touch my vulva too.
You have a clitoris there, Kayla, that probably feels good to touch the same way Keith's penis feels good when he touches it. But have you ever noticed that older kids and grown-ups don't touch their private parts in public?
They don't?
That's right, Keith. It's okay to touch yourself and see how different body parts feel, but it's best to only do it in private.
Well, if private parts are so special, why do you cover them up? Because they are private, silly.
That's right, Kayla, because they are private.
Hey, Squeaks, pass it.
Wait! Okay, I'm ready!
All right. Like a little pro masturbation for the kids.
You know what I'm saying?
All right.
Like, yo, right. And it's just veiled behind the most innocent, you know.
First graders, man.
Like, bro, that's why when you sent that to me, I'm like.
So where are they showing this at?
Certain schools. What was the school you said?
New York City.
Yeah, it's like a private school. It costs almost $60,000 a year to send your kids there, and you're getting. This is what you're getting for that $60,000.
And the parents are pissed off.
So you got to pay for this.
Yeah,
you got to pay for it.
Yeah, you got to pay for this. This is. Don't you see the production value here? $60,000, bro. Scoops cost them a lot of money there. But it's crazy, man. Like you see.
Wow. An agenda, yeah.
You see how uncomfortable you felt watching that, though? I could feel it from everybody. Like,
yeah.
There's a reason why.
Because this is not natural.
Yes.
There's no way kids are talking like this.
And even thinking about that. Like, and it's not like we ain't never been kids before.
Right.
Right.
I never thought about any
First
of that.
grade?
First grade.
First grade, yeah. First grade.
Maybe when I got into, you know.
Well, it's another story. It's another story, man.
Got off the boat like, where they at?
I said middle school. All right.
No, but
Don't you think that slowly but surely this is going to become like part of the curriculum whether we want it or not?
Not if you don't if you don't do anything.
Not if the parents.
You got to push back.
I think if we sit idly by,
I would push back.
Yeah.
I think if you were saying on previous ones, like we don't do a good enough job of getting involved in our community.
That's true.
Mm-hmm. Like we don't know who's on our board of education.
Yeah,
we don't know who. Like
I went to one and it was nobody there. There were a couple of people, but they were like old vets.
Right. So these people can pretty much push whatever ideas they want.
They do speak to the public. You can tune into certain channels to see it. And they do ask questions, but it's usually like a bunch of old guys asking, well, y'all coming to pick up my trash?
Right.
But they have a lot of...
Every time I put my sticks out there, they leave 2 sticks behind. I'm tired of this. Yeah.
Nobody's there. Nobody's there. But that's because we're busy doing other things. We got ballerina class. We got football practice. We got basketball. We got soccer. We don't got time for that.
Right. Both parents are working 2 jobs.
Literally, I sat there and they asked if I had nothing to say. I just wanted to see what was going on. And
they're like, ask, please, young black man, tell us what to do.
We know what he's about.
Black man. They're like, you have the floor, sir. Your voice is needed.
It was like they actually do talk a lot about what happens in the township.
Yeah.
And they do ask anything.
Yeah.
And I mean,
yeah, I see the videos where someone goes to their town council and rips them a new one. You know, it doesn't do anything, but
if enough people did,
exactly,
if enough people did,
exactly.
Because remember, there was a town that was going through where it was a transition town. It goes from a minority-based town to a white town. There was a lot of tickets being handed out there, and it was right on that border. And they did enough research, and they found out, and they stopped it. They stopped doing that. They stopped having those checkpoints right at that point. Yeah, because it was happening so much. I just think we've been inundated with all these things that we think is valuable.
You got to watch 18 seasons of Housewives.
Yep.
You don't got time to go to the meetings.
Don't got time. Like I said, I haven't been back. I went 2 times, and they of course it's like it looks like a little courtroom.
Right.
That's basically what it is.
Yeah.
And they're just talking there, and they'll talk about certain things.
Right.
Well, you've only been in Lumberton for a few years. I've lived in Williamstown forever. Never.
Yeah. Right. But they do talk a lot about the town budgets, the schools,
the school board. What their plans are.
It's boring. I mean, it's not.
Yeah, but we have to have a more vested interest in what, especially if we're going to participate in that. If we're going to send our kids to the public schools, it is important to know what they're learning, what they're teaching them.
Mm-hmm. Well, we have to be the one to ask: is information more important than entertainment? Because we're replacing information with entertainment. Because, like you said, rather than watching certain shows or going off to drive your kids all over the place or whatever it is. You're not there. You have no idea what's happening.
Right.
Yeah. In fact, I'll tell you another thing. Excuse me, I didn't know this, but from a contractor standpoint, most of the people on boards are retired police officers who turn contractor, firefighters, work 4 days on, 3 days off. They are contractors. So a lot of the local laws pertaining towards contracting are designed by them.
Right.
And the reason they do that because they know that they can benefit. They can benefit. They're the ones that have the contracts for waste management, for the repairs of the road. Because when you look at their names and stuff like that, you're like, because one guy put me onto that. He said, "Oh yeah, his brother owns the biggest asphalt repair company around here. So anything pertaining towards that, we need a budget for this. Who do you think is going to? If we don't know those kind of things, and that's just one aspect of it. Imagine a school district.
Yeah.
Or governor.
Anybody.
They got in trouble for that, right?
Yeah.
With the bridge stuff?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, they've been fixing that one ramp off 295 that I take home for 18 years. And now, did you see the whole thing wall collapsed?
Yeah. Now they got to start
They got to start back over. Somebody was probably over there like...
Collapse it all.
No, it's the old Pablo Francisco joke. You go down on purpose, checks in the mail, I tell you what to do. Yeah, I think we just don't want to be involved,
And when you do that, what do? Your walls are down, so you allow, like we said, we were just talking about if I gave you all the ground at once, right? So there's ground there that you don't steward over, so the wild beast can come and now have free reign over your children because you're not involved.
Maybe that's what he was talking about earlier. Maybe we're looking at this in the wrong way. We're looking at it as, the public's looking at this as a pandemic. Oh, this is terrible. But maybe God is trying to reset our mind. You know what I mean? So what are we focusing on?
That's what we said before. Like the Great Reset can be a good thing if it's done. If this is God resetting us, no.
Well, that's what an ecclesia, actual ecclesia or church, was for. It's like the local church. It was about coming against the powers and principalities, not just of the air, but also, that are ruling things in that that region. Yeah. But it was from your households, so people get together to strategize, right? What is happening? Why is this happening? They seek God, and they'd get strategy, and they come together, and then they go out.
Yeah. You know what's interesting? I was watching this thing, a documentary. It was about prohibition, and how it started, and what it created, the underground wars and everything like that.
Yeah, the bootleggers.
I think people did more strategizing on how to figure that out than something like this.
You're absolutely right, man.
How they planned it out, and how they had like runners and like bootleggers and the mob, and it was so intricate. Now, did politicians?
Did the documentary talk about how like one of the biggest funders of getting prohibition passed was Rockefeller?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. It goes into all the political families who were vested in that stuff.
And you know why he did that, right?
I don't know.
Because alcohol, they found out that alcohol was a better form of
gas,
a better form basically. Of like fuel for cars than gasoline.
Oh,
so ethanol. Right?
Oh, ethanol. Yeah.
So once,
they did mention something about that, but they didn't go deep into it.
So that's why he was spending all his money to get prohibition passed, because what they had in the bill was that you couldn't use ethanol as a pure fuel. It had to be mixed with petroleum. So because he saw that was going to overtake oil.
Right.
You know what I mean? Because it could be produced by nature. It could be you could produce it just from growing corn. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Anything fermented. Really.
Yeah. Right. So. He like spent a bunch of money to keep that.
They didn't go into that. Left that out. They did mention a lot of like corporate, but they didn't talk about that. Yeah. But it was
just a little conspiracy side note there. But I mean, looking at what that is, it's a result of, like Jake was saying, it's a result of the church just not taking up their post, in society.
I think that's what everything is.
Yeah.
When we look at it, like. You look at the border in America. It's because the church lacks borders. Men, like we don't have an understanding of, like, we want to love. We got the love thing down, but we got it down so bad we getting taken advantage of.
Right.
So that's not real love. So you need to guard your love, guard your heart, right, with all diligence, for out of it flow the issues of life. But that caught you. Now you need to put up some borders.
Yep.
Right. So that's one thing you got.
Okay, but like, what does that mean? Like, what does like a church like with borders look like? Because the church is not actually a church; it's God's people, right?
Right.
Okay. So, like, I don't think that plays like that's hard to do in real life. It's hard to.
I think you're thinking about it like he's a physical border, but he's talking about like a border around your heart, a border around, like. Having a border is having a protection or having a wall to stop just anything from coming in.
Right.
So if you put that border up around your mind, around your heart, then all of these ideas, all of these things can't just penetrate, You
don't just let anything in.
Right. You know what I'm saying?
Because if you let anything in, you're going to be taken over. So, like, back in the day, talk about, like, biblical times, the way they come into covenant with nations or peoples or tribes was they would come into their house. Mm-hmm. They wouldn't let you in their house unless you came into agreement with them. Right. And they would sit down. That's where breaking bread comes from. Mm-hmm. Like, and communion, Mm-hmm. Breaking bread came from you sit down and you eat with somebody and you're coming into agreement. That's like the start of that agreement. Mm-hmm. You break bread. But so you're not going to let somebody just into your house because your house is a sacred place, mm-hmm. right? So you want to make sure that they're in agreement with you before you let them in.
Right.
That's how you call them a friend, mm-hmm. right? An alliance. It starts as an alliance, a friendship, right? If you look at it, that's what God did with Abraham. Come out of your father's house, mm-hmm. come here to where if you do it, now I have an allegiance with mm-hmm. you because I'm going to make a covenant with you.
Right.
Then he listened more. Now he's becoming a friend, right? Mm-hmm. So that's what it's about. And eventually you become a brother, right?
Right.
And so when you, like if somebody, that's why we call brothers brothers in church, brothers and sisters, right? It's not just because, what's up, brother? How you doing, brother? No, it's actually about...
definitely been diluted.
Right. It's actually about borders. It's actually about keeping people.
It's about saying that we're under the same covenant. We're under the same agreement. We're of the same house.
Right. I mean? But it's also about like discipline. Because we were talking about this, like, if you don't have honor, you're not going to get any further. Meaning, you have to have honor for what is in this area, right? What's in behind these borders or behind the wall. If you have no honor for it, then you can't come in. Meaning, you got to learn my ways.
Right, and to put that in plain terms, because you're speaking in like, very overarching vague, spiritual terms, but to put that in plain terms, I got an example from James, who was telling me like how he was dealing with someone who through business, like they started working together, and then once he found out that this person was like taking phone calls from his side piece, he was like, okay, I can't work with him anymore. Right. You know what I mean? Because he showed that they're not in an agreement. You know what I mean? He doesn't honor the same things that he honors.
Right. So I mean, kind of, but yeah, in terms of if I'm gonna allow you into what I have, that's what I'm saying. I draw the line.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, in terms of that.
So I have to draw that line because I can't allow you into my house.
Right.
Yeah. When you see something and you know that it's morally wrong, don't make excuses for it.
Or
whatever it is.
Even when if you see someone that doesn't hold the values and honors the things that you honor, that line up with God, then you can't allow them. You can't allow them in.
Yeah. Well, what if you see somebody who honors something that you don't honor, even to ask why do you honor that, and that's honor. You know what I mean? Why I'm gonna honor you even to ask why or to inquire of you. That's honor. Like just a simple thing, practicality. Teaching like kids soccer. Learning how these kids, if they don't respect the coaches, they're not going to come into what the coaches. That's basic. And if the coaches are teaching and they're not demanding the respect, then they're not really going to learn anything. And then you're going to keep going over and over and over the same stuff. Right. But if you demand respect, then they're going to start to honor you, and then they'll come into what you have.
That's Joe Clark, right?
But so how do you demand respect without being like, the jerk?
Sometimes you have to be.
Yeah. People will perceive. See, people want to do what they want, but that's why you have borders.
Yeah.
That's why they're foreigners, right? People want to do what they want because that's the way they think it should be. That's what they're used to. But you can do that over there, but here, this is my domain.
Right.
A coach is, if you want to be on a coach's team, that's his domain. So if you, as a student or player, but really a student, right? You want to learn, then you got to honor me because this is my domain. If you don't come by my rules, then you can't be on my team. If you don't want to come by my rules, then you can't come into this country. Right. And you can't come into this tribe even.
Right. That's what I meant by this is Joe. That's Joe Clark. You know who Joe Clark is, right? Joe Clark, Lean on Me.
Oh, okay. Yeah. I thought that's what you meant.
Yeah. Like, you ever seen Lean on Me? You know the story of Lean on Me. Patterson, New Jersey was like one of the worst schools in the whole country.
He turned it around.
He came into that school and turned it around and turned it into like, their test scores were one of the best but it took for him to draw a line and be like, I'm not tolerating nothing from you kids. Like,
and that's the issue because them kids were so unruly or wild, really, right? So you gotta.
He died recently.
Yeah, he did.
Yeah. Oh, really?
Yeah, he did.
But it was tough.
Yeah, exactly. But that's why I said sometimes you gotta be the jerk.
At the same time, they respected him and they
loved him.
But there is like, you can't just be tough. You got to show that you're tough, but you love.
Right.
You know what I mean? Because that's why it says husbands love your wives, right? It's easy to guard and be tough.
Yeah.
Because that's what, men can be guarders and be tough, but it's harder for them to love. And so that's the other side. You got to guard your wife, but you got to love your wife.
Right. That was the conversation I was having with you guys. That was the issue that I was having. I was too tough. With my family, my son, even my wife. Like,
Right.
Like, yo, you gotta chill. And God's been dealing with me on that, being more loving.
Right.
You know,
because
can't just be tough.
Because it's 1 Corinthians 13, right? You're like a clanging cymbal.
Yeah.
Right?
You can know anything. Yeah. You know, you can have all the wisdom in the world.
Wow, that's such good. That like I've heard that verse before, but it's perfect.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like sometimes the words are so perfect. You're like, wow, okay.
And you know in music, you know what
that's perfect.
What that sounds like, right? No one like it's like
oh no.
It works in its context, right? But if someone's just clanging a cymbal in your ear, you're like, yo, stop.
On and on.
And
you can't think anymore. And so you can't even correct if you can't think.
All you want them to do is stop.
Now look at what she was just talking about, like music. So that's why, like, carrying the sound or the roar, right, or the sound of God. That's why Judah went first. Judah was about praise, right? You look at the story of Jehoshaphat when they caused confusion. Nations were coming against them, right? A bunch of nations tag team, like we're gonna get Judah, right? The kingdom of Judah, and he put worshipers in the front lines, and they carried that sound and they caused confusion in the enemy's camp. And what it points to, it's the valley of decision, the valley of Jehoshaphat, right? Jehoshaphat means judgment, right? God judges, right? So to judge is to decide, right? So and to judge is to discern.
Right.
And that's wisdom. So basically, when we lay down our own ideas of what we're supposed to do and we come into the greatest guard's house, right? That's why Jesus died. He died. This is John 14, where he says, I go and prepare a place for you. Right? He died and was resurrected in heaven. He goes to why? Because that's our place. He is that actual place. He was raised up so we could be that place where we could come into and take refuge into, and it becomes a new thing, a new sound. We can't carry his sound if we don't honor him first. So we got to die to our own. What does it mean? Okay, because a kid, again, playing soccer, if they think they know, they're not going to listen to me. I just want to, I want to, like, I know from seeing these kids, they want to score goals. They want to dribble the ball. Like they want to, their eyes are just on the ball, but I see everything around, right? Because I know,
you know, the
expanse
game.
Of the structure. I know the structure, right? Because that's what it's about, right? And Jesus is the structure. He knows the structure. He is the structure. He's the way the world is intended to be. So in order for me to carry that, I got to first die, right? I got to die to my own ways, to the way I think. I just want to kick the ball. I just want to score a goal. I got to die to that. And it takes, how does he cause us to honor him? He humbles us. He humbles us. And that's what I was talking about earlier. Like we go through, I don't know what's going on. I don't know. Right. Finally, to the point where we stop trying to do it ourselves, right? Stop trying to prove ourselves because we can't carry that sound. Because we might even get some truth. Right? We read a Bible. Oh, that makes sense. Let me take that. But if it's not applicable and in order of the blueprints of that structure, then you're out of order.
Right.
And it's not going to make sense. It might be true, but it doesn't apply to this thing, right? So you're out of order. And that's the key. Sometimes it's something might be true, but it's not true in that context. You know, so we got to go back when it's not working. We got to recognize that we got to honor ourselves. That's what to lead is to be led. So now we're led into him. And then we can carry that sound. And because we humbled ourselves, we learn true love, right? We can't learn true love if we don't enter into his house, because that's where he can love us. We stay outside of his house thinking we know him, but we don't really see him. We read a Bible.
Right.
And when we try to figure it out. But we got to actually go in, you know, Hebrews 4 talks about therefore, it talks about how we have to strive to enter into his rest, right? So that we can stop being disobedient.
Right.
And then it talks about the sword of the Spirit, able to divide, right? Soul from spirit. So now what are you doing? You're discerning, right?
Yeah, it's, again, equating it back to coaching and sports, soccer, whatever. until a kid understands that they have to just chill and listen, you have to, sometimes your role is to humble them. So like if a kid just wants to do what he wants, he's not playing as a team player, he's not following your instructions, what do you do?
Make him run.
Make him run laps.
Or just sit down.
Or sit, or you can't play.
Yeah.
Or fine.
You slide tackle him. Show me what you got. You slide tackle him.
That's what he does. Hurting kids, injuring kids out here. Show him you ain't tough. No, but you humble them. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And a lot of times that works. You know, that works. That will teach them like, okay, it's not about me.
Right.
You know what I mean?
And
let me be willing to play my role because there's something here to be gained.
Yeah.
Or that's the only way I'm going to be able to play. You know what I mean?
Right. But yeah, you can do that, discipline them. But then you show them like, listen, I'm only doing this because I know something you don't know.
Right.
You know, I would say that, literally say that to the kids I coach.
Yeah.
Like, do you think you know more than me? And they never said yes.
Yeah. You waiting for that one is like, yeah.
There might be one, but do you think you know?
You ain't even that good.
Yeah. So they're always like,
that's
no.
when he slide tackles him, right? When they do that, that's when he has the slide tackle. That's when you got to up the ante, right? All right, let's go 1-on-1.
But see, I play with them, so they already know.
Right.
But do you think you know more than me? Because you might be, even if you're skilled, you're more skilled. Because we know people who are skilled, right? They can dribble like crazy, shoot the ball, but when they get on that field, they disappear.
Right.
Maybe for a little bit they're dribbling, but then you get a bunch of people around them, they take the ball from them because you don't know the structure. You don't understand the actual game or the world that we're working in. So
the bigger picture.
The bigger picture. So once they understand that, then they can humble themselves, you know, but from a place of love, you don't tear somebody down. You build them up.
Right.
But you gotta let them fall. You gotta, so that they can realize they need help. And that's the thing. Do you think you know more than me? No. Then why are you trying to do all this stuff that you don't really know how to do? You know? Do you know how to do it? No. So then why won't you just listen to somebody that does? It'd be a lot faster.
Right. I can show you how to do it faster.
Yeah, and then you can get to where you're going a lot quicker. Same thing with coaching, vocal coaching.
I was thinking
same
the same
exact thing. Like,
yeah.
I tell people all the time, like, listen, because most people will come in and they feel like they got something to prove. Like, I know how to sing. But a lot of times, so I'm showing them how to do something, and they'll like go ahead of me, you know, and just try to prove it. And I always got to say, listen, do you know what you're doing? No. Then why are you trying to act like you do? Right. And I'm not being mean. It's just, you don't have to prove yourself. It's actually, I'm freeing you from proving yourself because you're trying to prove that you know something that you don't know. Have you ever done this before? No. So all you got to do is just listen to me. All you got to do is just listen to what I tell you to do and do what I'm showing you. That's what God does with us. Jesus literally said, I only do what I see the Father do. So all we're doing is learning how to do what we see him do. You know,
the Father's not doing all these runs.
Hey, sometimes there might be a place for a run or two, you know, but you know.
Yeah, but
all right, that was a long rant on that one topic. Let's go into. It's already we're already deep into this. Let's go into this. What you sent me on this Judas and the Black Messiah thing. There's some clips here and some stuff we're gonna get into. All right.
Anybody watch this movie?
Have you seen it?
Nope.
I haven't.
None of us have seen it. Okay.
You saw it?
No.
You know, it's with the guy from Get Out.
What did I say? Get down.
Get down.
You know the guy from Get Down.
Get Down.
It uses a spin on the biblical story of Judas to challenge and. Judas and the Black Messiah uses a spin on the biblical story of Judas to challenge and reclaim the mainstream historical narrative of the Black Panther Party. The film shows Chairman Fred Hampton as a Jesus-like healer, bringing a radically loving, unifying message to the people in the 1960s.
You know how many people we could save in 5 years?
Meanwhile, his Judas-like betrayer, Bill O'Neill, is portrayed as a tool of the FBI, the greater
they
white
always in
establishment,
movies together.
and capitalism itself.
Nice work, Bill.
Ultimately, the film translates Jesus and Judas' story into a clash between socialism and capitalism.
I will make sure you're properly compensated.
And the story encourages us to rethink all that we've been taught about the villains and victims of history, as well as about the present systems we accept and live under.
A non-capitalistic state, that's what we're talking about.
Most of all, it warns us to avoid a mindset of self-preservation and apathy, because seeing yourself as not part of the fight for change amounts to helping keep things the way they are.
And I think what you see in this film is the danger of not caring, the danger of apathy, and the danger of self-preservation.
Okay, so they're saying that it's a allegory for socialism versus capitalism,
and they're saying that, well, what he was just saying is that, like, you know, you have the one guy who's like the Judas figure is basically not caring,
definitely informant,
and which to be honest with you, is not like in terms of Judas. Judas was probably he probably cared too much for the wrong things, so it doesn't even make sense. But anyway.
But I understand that the take is not caring in tearing the system down. You know what I mean? That's what they mean by not caring, caring and pushing back against the current system.
Right. But that's what's funny, because Judas actually did care in the wrong way, because he actually like wanted to tear it down. He was probably a zealot in that way. You know what I mean? So he probably wanted to do more, and he probably didn't. He probably betrayed Jesus because he didn't live up to what he thought.
Because Jesus didn't live up to what he thought?
Yeah, because he thought Jesus was going to come and wreck things.
Right.
Like they would have wanted,
right,
you know, to
right.
tear everything down and justify them.
Yeah, yeah.
You know what I mean? Because that's what a lot of the disciples were thinking, but he turned it around on them.
But Jesus was also a treasurer too, so I think there's a money correlation there.
Yeah. There definitely is.
He got tempted by that.
Yeah,
you know.
Yeah, he lived in the system of collecting money, so you know,
right.
His idea was he's going to capitalize off of that as well. You know,
right. But there's this idea of like the self-preservation thing that I thought was interesting, because it's just that selfishness thing where people are only looking out for themselves, or even if they are looking out for other people,
right?
It might just be their own internal struggles going on inside of them. I put in Malcolm X, because Malcolm X died a little bit before he died. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So
yeah, I'm going to play that. I just wanted to point out that this very closely parallels the story in The Matrix that we talk about all the time, with the character that was like
Cypher.
selling them out just so he could have a place in the Matrix where he's rich and powerful and can eat steak every day.
He's a Judas figure.
Yeah, he's a Judas figure. You know what I mean? Where it's like, I'm going to sell them out because, you know, I just want to I just want to be a part of this system. You know what I mean? So I think
he's tired. Oh, he's also saying he's tired of quote unquote fighting.
Yeah.
He doesn't want to.
Right.
You know.
So that
could have been Judas too.
Yeah. So he's like, just give me a good spot. You know what I mean? Just set me up. I'll sell them out if you set me up. All right. So here's the Malcolm X clip.
First thing I returned, I kept being asked the question by some reporters. We heard you changed, and I would say I was kind to the reporter. Actually, I smiled and all. But I would say to myself, how in the world can a white man
I wanted to go to the
expect a
end.
black
I
man
forgot,
to change
but I don't
before
even
he
know where
has
it's at
changed?
exactly. So just go like
It's only 3 minutes long.
Let's go like
Expect
halfway
us
in.
to change when my religion makes me be against all forms of racism. It keeps me from judging any man by the color of his skin. It teaches me to judge him by his deeds and his conscious behavior. And it teaches me to be for the rights of all human beings. but especially the Afro-American human beings. Because my religion is a natural religion, and the first law of nature is self-preservation. And one of the things that our people have not been doing in this country up until now, we have not been exercising the first law of nature. We have not thought of ourselves first. We have placed America first.
Okay.
We have placed America.
That's really all I want. You see how he said the natural law of self-preservation.
Yep.
And we have not put ourselves first. And that's what he was doing. That's kind of where Fred Hammond, or is it Hampton? There you go. Fred Hampton was doing, but he was willing to die for it. I mean, I'm probably Malcolm X was too.
Yeah.
But he was putting his people first, you know.
Fred Hampton is a totally different black guy.
Yeah. He's a singer.
Yeah. Never would have made it.
Yeah. But that self-preservation, it still lies in the cusp of it. And you see how what he said was, we haven't put ourselves first.
Mm-hmm.
Which Jesus speaks about, the first shall be last.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So if you're looking at yourself first, then you're going to promote yourself first. And the stuff that's happening in this world and the suffering that we go through is actually the thing, like we were talking about earlier, that is an opportunity. But because we're focused on the struggle and focused on it becomes an issue, and then it drives people. It can drive people the other way to, you know, want to eat that steak that's not real.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Like you were talking about with the Matrix.
Yeah.
So.
All right, clip number 2.
And it led to him destroying himself. You think you're preserving yourself, taking care of yourself, taking care of yourself, taking care of yourself, and it led to him destroying himself.
The movie reframes the biblical divide between Christian Messiah Jesus and his betrayer Judas as essentially a dispute between socialism and capitalism. In simplified terms, Jesus and Fred Hampton are both socialists in that they believe in taking care of all people's needs.
Our breakfast program feeds over 3,000 kids a week.
While Judas and Bill, and the FBI controlling Bill, are capitalists in that they put their individual needs first. Right after we first glimpse Fred Hampton, we hear him say,
"We're gonna fight capitalism and socialism."
Fred's socialism believes people have a right to 3 key pillars, which his Panther Party provides to his community: food, healthcare, and education.
First you have free breakfast, then you have free healthcare, then you have free education. Next thing you know, you look up, you done freed your motherfucking self.
Meanwhile, he views capitalism as a means of exploiting the people, regardless of the race of rich members of society.
No matter what color he is, black, white, brown, red, don't matter. Because the capitalist has one goal, and that is to exploit the people.
Modern capitalism as we know it didn't exist in Jesus' time, but it's safe to say he would have hated it.
Blessed are you, poor, for yours is the kingdom of God.
In the book of Matthew, Jesus declares that the meek, i.e. poor, will inherit the earth. Matthew also describes a scene where Jesus
That's
cast
not
out
true.
all them that sold
He just
his body.
said what the poor.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Blessed are you, the poor.
Yeah.
But then she tries to equate the meek shall inherit the earth as the poor.
Yeah, which is
total mistranslation.
Yeah. Meek has to do with people who are skilled in something, but they lay that down.
Mm-hmm.
So
isn't the translation like really the one who like keeps the sword sheath?
Bridles the sword.
Yeah. So it's like it's someone who has the ability to do damage but chooses not to.
Right.
That's the meek.
Like Jesus.
Right.
Jesus had the ability to call down, like he said, when he was with Pilate, he said, I have the ability to call down 12 legion of angels.
Right.
But that wasn't what he was supposed to do.
That's not what God sent me to do. Right.
Yeah.
So it's about having honor above yourself, or being not only self-interested, like they're trying to claim, like put yourself first. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, they're saying he's for the people. They're trying to say like Jesus was a socialist, basically.
Yeah, yeah.
And he's for the people and for the poor. You know.
Right. But I'm talking about before that. The clip of the concept was like we need to be self-interested. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So being meek is totally against that. It's totally opposite of that.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Actually meek.
Yeah.
was trying to label Jesus, man. They're trying to put Jesus in something.
Yeah. But it's just funny how
Jesus is a racist.
They do these like they throw these things out there. They just it sounds good to people, so they just accept it. Like meek, i.e. the poor. Like where are you getting that from? And then people just eat that up, like, you know what I'm saying? Oh, so the poor are the ones that really need to inherit the earth. Like,
yeah, but even the poor, like, because he says right before that, blessed are the poor, right? But it's really not about poor people. It's about poor in spirit. Mm-hmm. Because if you're poor, you're going to want something, you know? So
yeah, you're yearning for something.
You're yearning for.
Because there's also the part where, matter of fact, it was... when the woman was using all the oil on Jesus, and wasn't it Judas that was like, yo, what are you doing? That could be used for the poor. That could be,
Yeah.
And he was like, man, the poor will always be there. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like he made a distinction there. Like, no, you're caring about the wrong things. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? So if even what they're trying to frame doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
You know,
in another place, he said something like, well, that was different.
Yeah. All right. Keep playing.
In the temple and overthrew the tables of the money changers, saying they'd made his house of prayer into a den of thieves.
Yeah. So it's just to show like.
When does
you
this?
think you're preserving yourself, taking care of
Go ahead.
Where is this on?
yourself, taking care of yourself, taking care of yourself.
Judas and the Black Messiah. It's on Netflix.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Is it on Netflix?
I'm pretty sure.
I thought it was on HBO Max.
Oh, HBO Max. I don't know. I thought it was on Netflix. I haven't seen it.
Yeah.
Right.
I know it's on that Fire Stick.
Yeah, I don't need to see it. It's funny because the guy who, like, I was watching some of the interviews and they were talking about how it was kind of intimidating because his son was there. They wanted to do him proud. So it's like see how it's still like they're trying to uphold the image of something. So it is self-preservation because the guy wants to be he wants to self-preserve his legacy, right? Which is connected to him.
Right.
Even though he died. But it's the idea.
He died or he was killed?
He was killed.
Oh, he was killed.
Yeah, he was killed. They're saying, I mean, they don't exactly know. They're saying it was by the government. But
i.e. So I wanted to point out, like, if he's supposed to be Jesus and Judas is the other guy, who's the FBI? Is that the Jews?
The FBI or the Pharisees? I guess?
Pharisees or the Romans? Like,
I'm guessing they're the Pharisees.
What character is that? Both the Romans and the Pharisees together?
Maybe.
Yeah. So the government is the Romans. The Jews are the FBI.
Right. I would say this though,
because they're both law.
Aside from all of the allegorical meanings and all this stuff, I do see the trajectory of movies changing a lot.
Yeah, you're starting to see people try to do more, like, thought-provoking movies.
Yeah,
even if they're with an agenda that I don't agree with. Like, you know,
and that's the thing. Like, what's going? Like, they're trying to push it for their own idea.
Yeah.
Use it for their social justice, you know. Mm-hmm. But there are some honorable things in
some lessons
in Fred.
You got to be able to chew the meat and spit out the bones.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Like you can't just
what
look
lions
at somebody.
Lions don't eat bones. They leave the bones for the hyenas. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, you can't just look at somebody and just they're just bad. No, nobody's just bad. You know
and these
what I mean?
stories are important. I just wish if they would not, like, you know, we talked about Them.
Yeah, did anybody watch Them, the series?
No.
Did you see that?
Yeah.
What is Them?
Well, was that the one with the
one in Compton?
Okay,
it was like Jordan Peele kind of vibes. Yeah, like we talked about that.
It's true. There's a lot of facts, but it gets wrapped up in mysticism and schizophrenia and stuff like that.
And huge like social justice, you know, over the topness that is like, yo, just tell the story.
Right.
Just tell the story.
Right. I do appreciate that. Like, you know.
Yeah, and I think there's a place for it as well. And even Them, like, I love the way it was shot. Like it looked amazing, you know, but it's just you see the agenda behind it.
Can Christians watch those things and pick out the truth?
Absolutely.
You know what I mean? Because I think sometimes in an effort to, I don't want to watch none of that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like you don't see sometimes there's a lot of truth that you can decipher there.
Well, Jake's going to be doing a bunch of videos on like considered secular
right.
movies and like you were saying with Prometheus.
I just started thinking about that kind of stuff. I mean, I knew it was there, but I think there's a lot of stuff in there that's, if you have the time and the ability to kind of decode it, you can see,
Yeah.
Satan always wants to get the glory, so he's going to try and make himself look good.
Exactly. But God's in everything, and people don't understand that. Yeah. People can't get past that. But you had this clip about comparing capitalism.
I mean, we
socialism.
don't really gotta go into that. I'm just thinking about it's really kind of pointless. Like, I mean, for people who don't know, because some people don't get what's like. They're trying to paint a pretty picture about socialism.
Yeah.
But when you break it down,
communism even.
Yeah.
Because that's the one thing you hear all the time. It's like, oh, communism has never really been tried in its purest form.
But we could just talk like capitalism is not good when it's not guarded in the right way.
Dude, either one is going to fail because people are corrupt.
Right,
you know what I'm saying? People at the people that reach the highest levels.
I like
of
that
these
you
things,
said that. I think because the argument is either or.
Yeah.
But when you really look at it, it's like
people are gonna
human beings.
The people at the top are gonna try to the greed is gonna take over. Power, the thirst for power is gonna take over. You know what I mean?
Well, I think that's the key. Like, I think personally I think that's where the church can come in.
Right.
But my issue with socialism is that like there's good things in it, community.
Yeah.
But you can't equally distribute things.
Right.
Because go ahead. It causes people to not strive.
Yeah.
It causes people to settle in the wrong way.
Yeah.
I
mean, just think about it on a small scale. Like, anytime you have a bunch of people living in one space, there's always someone that's gonna like slack off, right? And not pull their weight. And like, you got to have that conversation. You know what I mean?
And you got jealousy that comes up.
Yeah.
And the Bible does say if a man doesn't eat, he shouldn't eat.
And I think that the good ideas of socialism is worrying about and taking care of your fellow man, your neighbor, treating your neighbor.
But usually that doesn't last long.
And it can't be projected on mass scale. That's impossible.
You can't force somebody to do those things. Because it's got to be done in love.
I think what part of maybe this is not, I wouldn't even mention Christians. It's more on the conservative side is when they try to push capitalism as
this end all be all.
And it's like, you're flawed too.
Yeah, because you could. There's so many things you can point to about capitalism that are terrible.
Sure.
You know what I mean? Like,
but I think with capitalism, the good thing about it is it's a free market.
Yeah.
So it causes people to
the opportunity of a free market is there, but it gets manipulated and maneuvered so bad that it ends up not like we were just talking about Rockefeller.
But that's my point.
All the damage he's done to so many industries because he wanted monopoly control.
But that's I think again, this is where if you're a conservative and you claim to be a believer, you have to be willing to admit that.
Yeah.
And they don't want to.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
But see, that's what I'm trying to say is that I think that the believers are the ones that should be going into these free market systems to reform them.
Right. Because once you insert the morals, once you insert the honor that goes along with being a true believer, then those things fall away.
Yeah.
Right. I think we started looking, part of it too, because I was talking to my friend about this. Part of what has happened to us is most believers aren't entrepreneurs.
Yeah.
They have a job. If you really you go to most churches they have jobs. They're not entrepreneurs. So they're not really going to understand the system because it's just secure. It's kind of like the insurance thing. Like your mom said when my dad passed away, she said, I've been putting away money. She's like $25.
$25 a month since she was 30.
Since she was 30.
Yeah.
And she would have saved that about $10,000. And now she just found out that
when she turns 65, they're going to take all that money's
gone. It goes from 25 to 175.
Yeah, if she doesn't make that note to 175, she loses everything.
She loses everything.
So now she has to try to sign up for a lesser
But it's
plan.
out of fear. And I think that the same thing with business, right? I don't know if I can do this. But you're not going to really understand money unless you see how it comes in and goes and stuff like that. So if you're trained to just go get a job, you're never going to understand money. You're never going to understand finances,
Yeah. And you're never going to be able to have an impact on those systems.
Right.
You never can because you're just going to be a worker. You're just going to be a slave to the system.
Right.
So like what you're saying is once the church can be in a position where we now shape the culture of those systems, then it changes.
I'd encourage people to do that.
Yeah. Like we were talking yesterday about, what were we talking about? And you were like, yeah, they say it's this, but you know, there's so many loopholes around how they can lie. It's something about like, you know, when they sell you food or the protein. We were talking about protein. And you were talking about how like when they sell you this whey protein, there's so many other ways that they can like, you know, cut it.
Yeah, right.
Like, you know, they talk about that in the drug game, like how they cut cocaine, so you never get it in its pure form. But they do this with everything. Yeah. So they lie to you, like
chips.
Like, yeah,
open a bag of chips is half in there.
Right. Like they whey protein. They found out grass fed whey protein.
Whey protein is like this big, but there's like air.
But not only that, it's not all pure whey protein. Yeah. It's like mixed with fat and like you were telling me, and even like when this whole concept of now people are into grass fed beef, so they realize that if you just feed them grass a little bit, you can technically like there's a threshold. Yes. So if you just meet that threshold, you can sell this beef.
They'll always adjust to whatever measure it has to be.
But why is that? Because we as the church, it wasn't on us because we're just coming into this now, but we have allowed this system to be propped up where they can just lie to us and we're okay with it. You know what I mean? Like
we haven't upheld honor.
We just say, "Oh, that's just the way it is."
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying.
I'm saying, I think a lot of us we're not being taught to be, you know, the providers for our family in terms of like, are you growing your own stuff? Do you understand this stuff? Like, do you know?
Are you doing any research?
Are you doing any research
about what you guys eat or consume?
Not. Yeah,
you know, who were we talking to? Somebody we were talking to, I think, at Phoebe's house, and we were talking about like how certain things. Oh, Jay, like certain things cost more money. Like, you know, if you want better meats or better things, and I'm like, yeah, but think about it. What is the most important thing to invest more money into? It's your own body.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like, why would you like people are so obsessed with like spending money on $120 pair of sneakers, but we'll go to the grocery store and be like, oh no, $10.99 for a steak, that's too much for me. You know what I mean? Like,
but we do that to kids. Don't you think like when the way how this is going, like, you know, if a kid said, I want to be a farmer, we're probably going to be like, nah. Discourage them, you know, I want to be a doctor. Go.
Yeah.
So, you know what I mean? Like, it seems as though
because we don't want our kids to struggle in life, right?
So we immediately look at that as like failure.
Yeah.
You know, we don't have to tell them, but the way we're reacting to it,
right?
You know.
Yeah, it's true, man. Like we don't have any honor for those roles in our society, in our community. Like I've been like, you know, looking at a lot of history and just like watching videos on the history of this country and history of like, you know, different provinces, and like there was an honor back in the day to the blacksmith of the community, the butcher, the farmers, these people love these people because they were the ones that were providing everybody with the tools that they needed for survival.
But what happened though? Like we talked about that before. They pushed this college thing, and then a trade like you know, like what you're doing, working with your hands, they frown upon stuff like that.
Rockefeller again.
But this is kind of what the whole thing goes back to the manosphere thing, where, you know, this is one of the things Kevin Samuels talks about, where most women are chasing like 10% of the guys.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of other men that are qualified, but they don't meet their standard. You know,
they won't accept it. They won't accept it. They say that is settling.
Right.
You know. Yeah, and I think that we're seeing the repercussions of that now because it's really, you know, in our generation, in the 80s, really that was like the most pushed thing where it's like you got to go to college, you got to have a career, you got to, you know, have a 401k.
Safety.
All these things were put in place.
But it's
and
not
really
pushed that you got to know how the system works.
Right. It's never pushed how do finances work.
Yeah.
How do you start a business?
Yeah.
How do you be
I'm learning that now. I'm learning
out of necessity though, right?
Because I saw what I'm losing. And I'm like, whoa.
Yeah.
But if you don't and you just get your W-2 and you go and you do your taxes and you know.
Because what do they have? They have a worker factory.
They do.
They have a worker factory. That's the way the school system is designed now. It's to, once they pop you out of that system, you're a worker, ready to go. And you're in debt, so you have to work.
Yes. I'm learning, I don't know if you guys are familiar with this term, it's called an S Corp versus an LLC.
Yeah.
How S Corps are actually better because you can write off your 401k, you can write off your retirement, you could write off the stuff that you could do some of it with the LLC.
But S corps are a little more expensive. So people don't really want to ever go that route.
I mean, I wouldn't.
Yeah.
But now I'm looking at it. I'm like, wow, there's so much tools that we have access to that make it just a little difficult, so you turn away. But because we don't want to put the time or the effort in, we're like, whatever.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's true, man.
You know, what do you guys think needs to happen forget the church as a symbol, but I'm talking about a small group of people who are believers would need to do if there is a depression on the horizon? What do we do, in terms of food, in terms of how do we go about that? Have you guys thought about something like that?
Yeah, that's what I was saying. Like, I think we really have to lean on each other and come together and like Jake was saying, seek God together, and really lean on him for the guidance in that. And how do we do this? How do we work through this? What do you want us to learn from this? Like, what are the things that we need to shed, and look at it as an opportunity and not a like tribulation. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. A remapping of like.
Yeah.
Stan's got a nice sized yard. You can do a garden.
Look, Jake got a big yard. I'm
gonna read this because this is in Amos 3. It's the second verse. It says, "You only have I know of all the families, known of all the families of the earth. Therefore, I will punish you for all your iniquities." And he's talking to Israel, of course. So that's his only family, right? So he's talking to them in terms of stewardship and like a father, He's like, you're the only ones I know. Then he goes into this. Do two walk together unless they have agreed to meet? Does a lion roar in the forest when he has no prey? Does a young lion, with young lions, right? Mm-hmm. Does a young lion cry out from his den if he has taken nothing? So what I'm saying is God is going to give it to us, right? When we are searching and we seek him, he finds the enemy out. That's the prey. We in order to agree, we got to come into his house. If two agree, they walk together, right? So when we walk with him, there's nothing we can't do. Believers don't realize what they have already. We have Jesus in us. We have the King or the majesty of the world in us. And I think that's what I'm saying. There's a lack of honor because we don't even realize that. Mm-hmm. We take that for granted. So if we take something for granted, you don't honor it. So literally we don't have that in us. I mean, we have it in us, but we don't recognize it, right? So if we don't, we're not going to be able to find out what's going on. We're not going to, there are things that can be done that he can show us, but we got to see it. Like, he prepares us ahead of time is what I'm trying to say, because when you go to the end of this, because he goes on, but at the end he says, see if I can find it. He says, "For the Lord does nothing without revealing his secrets to his servants, the prophets." Mm-hmm. And then he says, "The lion has roared, who will not hear it? For God has spoken, who can but prophesy?" So that's what the revealing is, the things that are, when somebody prophesies, you're speaking from the place, that secret place that you've gone into with God. And you come out with jewels. You come out with what's really valuable. And I think we don't hold that to a standard because we want the practical things. But the practical comes from seeking. Mm-hmm. Like, it doesn't, because sometimes it's like, okay, I get that, but how does that make sense with what I'm dealing with now? That's what kids do. They don't get it. Like, but if we keep going back, we'll start to understand it. But that's the faith part.
Right.
The faith is, wow, that's cool, but how am I going to use that for my life? Keep coming back, right? Keep seeking me. And then we start to form the thing that we can grasp it. And that's the tool that overcomes the things that, like James is talking about, like how do we, it's there, we just got to grasp it. And it's the faithfulness. That's the stewardship that he's teaching us to keep coming, keep coming, keep coming.
Yeah, I think it's like what you were saying, how you realized once you lost your dad, you realized how, pretty much God had been shaping you to be ready for that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it wasn't until you had to face that you realized that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So I think it's kind of the same thing where it's like, as long as you stay in him, as long as we're seeking him,
right.
we will realize that we can can deal with these things.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
We will realize that we were prepared. We were being prepared the whole time.
Right.
Yeah, I realized that I haven't been even like even when I was sick, I wasn't worried. Like I wasn't fearful.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like fear didn't enter. Like this.
Yeah.
I was hurt.
Yeah.
I wasn't fearful. I didn't feel. You know what I mean? Like it's like,
Yeah, you've been being prepared for this.
Right, right.
So I think it's about that. It's about having that faith to know, like, I'm gonna be prepared for this.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
So.
Everybody keeps asking me like, "How are you? How are you?"
Yeah.
I'm like, I'm good. I mean, I'm I'm not saying that I'm overjoyed, but
right.
I'm good.
It's weird, man. I remember the same thing when my dad died. Same thing, bro.
Right.
Like you don't know how that's gonna feel, and then to feel it, and then people are even uncomfortable with that.
Right. Right.
Others are like, wait, but
You're supposed to let it out.
Yeah.
Phoebe was saying that to me. Just go ahead, let it out.
Let it out.
Like I have nothing to let out.
Yeah, I'm good. Yeah.
Just cry.
Yeah, because it makes them feel better to see you. Yeah. Yeah.
If she's listening, I didn't say that. Yes, you were drunk.
Come here.
Would you guys, real quick before I know you're going to sign off, but would you guys consider like a simpler life? Like,
I'd be all for it, honestly.
We talk about that all the time.
Like if that's something that God moved us into, I would be fine with that.
Right.
Like I don't need. That's the thing is like I don't need all this. I don't need. You know what I'm saying? Like I'm not that type that's like I need all the trappings.
Maybe that's the wilderness. Maybe that's the metaphorical wilderness that people have to go into, is to give up all of these things that become our little gods.
Right. You just talk about how God told Abraham, come out of your father's house, right? So it's like
father's land. Yeah.
Your father's land, yeah. So it's like me and you talked about this before. Like, what if it got so crazy that it was like we have to, like Sodom and Gomorrah, we have to leave this place behind and totally not, hold on to the things that we love about it. The things that we've become, that have become the comforts for us, that could become like, that we're attached to.
Yeah.
What if we have to just sever those? Could we do that? Could we do what Lot had to do? You know what I'm saying?
I have been thinking about that. That's why I asked you.
Yeah.
I've been thinking, could I turn my back on lifestyle and goals and achievements and all the things that you work hard for,
wealth and status,
this house, and you bought a new car, and, I got season tickets and all the trappings of life. Could you do that? I've asked myself that plenty of times. And
what's your answer?
My answer is I could.
Yeah,
I could. I feel no ties to it.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? I think that trip back to Trinidad helped a lot, and then of course subsequently over the years, just really thinking about that, I'm like, I think I could. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I think I could. I think maybe that's what it is too for a lot of people. It's we're all looking like we're looking for like this another utopia, whether it's a spiritual one or it's a financial utopia. We think we're gonna. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Y'all, anybody else want to chime in on that?
I think I can.
It's just me and you.
I definitely can. I can see, like, I see a little bit of it when I go, and visit my dad. He has chickens, he has goats. They live a simple life.
Right.
I try to talk to my sister Pammy about investing in Bitcoin. She has no idea what it is.
Right.
But even all of that, what I'm saying is like, if something does happen catastrophic, financially, economically, I think a lot of people would fall apart because of the love of what they think success is.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying?
And the attachments to this system, you know.
Right.
But again, I think that's the point of the church. It's to be that grace for people who didn't prepare, who didn't make the right choices. And that's how much God loves people. That he wants to give them it's not that he wants to just enable them. It's actually to say, yeah, you messed up, but there's a place where you can come into peace and rest.
Right.
But it looks different than what you thought.
Mm-hmm.
You know.
Hold on, I want to get John and Rachel to chime in on this because they quiet.
Hey, John.
What?
Go ahead.
Are you joining the militia?
What are we doing?
You go into the commune?
No. It's
you moving?
If things happen in a way where you had to totally walk away from this entire way of living, and you had and totally figure out something, like totally abandon this, like Abraham, had to go away from his father's land, like Lot had to leave Sodom and Gomorrah, like would you be able to do that?
Will I be able to take my dog?
I'm gonna take my dog.
Oh, you can have a dog. You can have a dog.
Can I bring
I mean, if it's like leaving the tech world and
what if
I mean,
because those are the smaller versions of that, where it's like, okay, you can't do tech anymore. You can't play video games. You can't, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like, but it means you got to walk away from it. It's not like it's taken away from you without a choice. Like you got to walk away from it.
Yeah, and like I think with that you just find something else to replace that need, I guess. So like I would replace that with I would just be fishing. You know what I mean? If I got to walk away from video games, I'll go fishing. Okay.
I think that's the key, is that there's no greater love that you lay your life down for your friend.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? That life is not like, that means, that word in the Greek has to do with the things that you do with your life, you know? And then Luke 9:24 says, for whoever would save his life will lose it, but whoever loses his life for my sake will save it. For what does it profit a man if he gains the whole world and loses or forfeits himself?
Right. And we hear that verse so many times, but I think people never think about that in perspective of reality, what that means. Like,
Yeah.
I think that's what it is. I think right now, this is a test to see where does your love lie.
Mm-hmm.
Are you truly trusting in the Father? Are you really loving him and making room for him? Or is there other things that's keeping your attention?
Oh, we had a couple comments on there I didn't see. Jennifer Gandy said, hello, gentlemen. What's up? It's not coming up on mine for some reason.
Happens sometimes.
Yeah. All right. Well, let's wrap it up, guys. I appreciate you guys. I do want to do a Patreon, something for Patreon after this.
I think we can just keep going because we can get to.
That's true. We can do that. So we'll wrap this up. We'll do a quick video on Patreon. Also want to do a video where we talk about the meat shortage that's about to happen.
Shortage?
No, I'm serious.
Yeah, I heard about that.
So thank you guys for tuning in. If you want to check out the rest of this, go to our Patreon, patreon.com/youngliontv. You can subscribe to become a member there. If you become a member, you will have access to all the content that we're uploading on there, which is going to be special segments where we can talk a little more candidly than we can do on YouTube and Facebook. And also, we can touch on topics that we really can't hit here. So there's the Patreon there. You can sign up. Also, you can go to our website if you want music, merch. All of our future releases are on there, Jatan.com. And subscribe over at our YouTube channel if you're not over there yet. Tweet all the people on Twitch. We appreciate you. Please,
another
let's
thing
get some more
with Twitch, if you have Amazon Prime, you can get a Twitch Prime account. You get your first month of subscribing to us for free.
Sweet. So if you got Amazon Prime, you need to be subscribing to us. And everybody got Amazon Prime because Bezos just got a $10 billion bailout because he didn't get the space contract from NASA. Did y'all hear about that? We'll talk about that later. But yeah, thank you guys for watching. We love you. We'll see you next week. Peace.
Young lion, go live, yeah. Young lion, you rich, yeah. This kingdom has room, yeah.